Hey guys, it's Penguin here, and welcome back to another gold making video. In today's video, we are going to be covering how to obtain knowledge points in Dragonflight currently and Artisan's Mettle. So if you're somebody who is a little bit confused on these sources, you want to make sure you're getting the maximum per week, this video is for you. We're going to start with the fact that you have no knowledge at all, and I'm going to show you all of the potential sources that you have access to. Now, before we get started, I do want to throw in a little bit of a disclaimer, and even though this is live retail, it is no longer beta, things are still being hotfixed. For example, about a few hours before recording this video, Blizz has just announced that World Quest, which used to be semi-weekly, are now going to turn back to daily. And they've also removed achievements, which used to give knowledge points, that was hotfixed as well. So a lot of things are still changing, but this video should give you the major concepts, and I will leave a pinned comment with any changes if you're watching in the future. But as always, everybody, thank you so much for watching the video, and I hope you enjoy. And so up first, let's talk about what knowledge points in Artisan Mettle is, and let's start with knowledge points. Now, at a basic standpoint, knowledge points is the currency that you use in order to upgrade your profession's specializations. Specializations are a new concept in professions, very similar to your talent trees that you have for your class. However, it's dealing with crafting or gathering, depending on your profession. Now, these knowledge points are important as you can only get so many per week, and the more knowledge points that you can gather, the stronger crafter or gatherer you'll be. Now, a few things to note about knowledge points specifically is that they are profession independent. What I mean by this is, let's say you have Enchanting and Tailoring on the same character, you will have a pool of Enchanting knowledge points and Tailoring knowledge points. And of course, both of them can only be used for that specific profession. So it's not like, you are fighting between each profession, they each have their own pool of points. Up next, we have Artisan's Mettle, which is a brand new bind on pickup crafting reagent. Now, technically, everybody will want to have this source, not just crafters or gatherers or people with professions, but it is, of course, most useful to the profession people. Artisan Mettle is used in crafting your best in slot profession equipment, which all professions need. Also, you can use this to recraft crafted gear, which people with professions and non-professions will need. And lastly, there's some interesting crafts, bind on pickup crafts, that also require this material. A huge question I get is, do gatherers actually care about Artisan Mettle? And it is a huge yes. Artisan Mettle, like I said, is used for those profession tools, so if you are a miner or an herbalist who wants that best in slot pickaxe or sickle, they definitely need to collect that Artisan's Mettle. Now, you will likely pick up on this trend as we continue throughout the video, but knowledge points and Artisan Mettle are connected. Normally, for every single 1 knowledge point you earn, you're going to gain 5 Artisan Mettle. So for example, if I say, hey, this quest is going to give you +3 enchanting points, then you're also going to get +15 Artisan Mettle. So just keep that in mind, they are connected, so if I mention points or I mention metal, you'll likely getting the other source as well. And with that being said, the only 2 requirements that I recommend if you want to follow this guide to completion is that you need to have your campaign finished on at least 1 character, so you have access to adventure mode, which is the ability to have world quest available for your main character as well as alts, and you will want to level your professions to skill level 50. Now, technically you can get by with only 25 depending on the profession, but I will show you exactly why in just a little bit. But with all of that talk out of the way, let's get into these sources. And up first, let's talk about our one-time rewards. So technically you can do this whenever you want, but you can only do it 1 time. So definitely take advantage of this at the start to get ahead. Up first, the most simplest one that we have are hidden profession masters. These are just NPCs hidden around the world, and you can go up to them and talk to them for some free points. Now, if you have a crafting profession, for example, tailoring, if you talk to this individual, you will gain 5 knowledge points and, of course, 25 artisan mettle. Now, if you do the same thing, however, you have mining, skinning, or herbalism, you will gain 10 knowledge points, so you will gain 50 metal. So these are a lot more valuable if you're a gatherer. Now, just a quick heads up, like I said, things are weird. It's only the first or second week of the expansion, and currently the blacksmithing trainer is bugged. If you go up to the blacksmithing trainer, they're actually going to give you mining knowledge points, which of course is not very useful if you're a blacksmith. So for all the blacksmiths out there, I apologize, but hopefully this gets fixed very soon. Up next, we have one-time treasures. Now this is where those requirements kick in. In order to actually loot and see these treasures, you have to have level 25 in your profession. So I highly recommend, once again, leveling that profession up so you don't accidentally miss these treasures in your day-to-day content. But in general, treasures are pretty straightforward. You just need to go to the location, pick up the item on the map, and you're good to go. Each treasure will reward you with +3 knowledge points and 15 artisan metal. Now, in terms of how many there are, it depends on the profession. For example, alchemy has 7 different treasures, blacksmithing has 9, while engineering only has 2. So the amount of knowledge points you're going to gain through these systems is very, very dependent of your profession. But if you're looking for a location of all of these treasures, I will make sure to leave a link in the description. Up next, continuing with these one-time bonuses, this is where we split between crafters and gatherers. Up first, let's talk about gatherers, and you have your first-time gatherers. So every single time you pick up a new type of ore or a modified type of ore, for example, you might loot a normal servite vein for the first time, and then you also might loot a Titan-forged servite vein. Both of these first-time bonuses are going to grant you 1 knowledge point, as well as 5 artisan metal. Now keep in mind this only works with nodes, so this is only available for the herbalist and miners out there, not skinners. Then following that same sort of concept, we have our first-time crafts. So if you have something like tailoring, for example, and you craft a bag for the first time, you will gain 1 knowledge point and anywhere between 1 to 10 artisan metal. If this is a lower quality craft, it just comes from the trainer and it's just very simple to get, you will likely only gain 1 artisan metal. However, if you're a little bit deeper, you're halfway there, kind of dealing with the intermediate recipes, you may gain +5. And lastly, if you unlock those high epic quality, very hard to get recipes, you will likely gain 10. Then the last sort of one-time reward actually comes from a vendor. And this is from the Artisans Consortium Quartermaster. He is a Volpera sitting inside of the Artisans Market in Valdrakken, and he can sell you up to 3 items. What these items are different notes, and they reward knowledge points. Now, if you have a crafting profession, you will gain +10 from each note. Remember, there is 3 for each profession. If you're a gatherer, you are a little bit more in luck because you'll gain +15 instead of 10. And so you do have 3 different notes, and they each get more expensive and require more rep. For example, the first one only costs 100 artisan metal and only requires preferred reputation. The next one requires 150, however, it requires valued. And lastly, the final one costs 200 artisan metal, and it also requires esteemed. Now, a thing to note, you will get metal back from buying these items. For example, if you are a crafter, you're going to gain 10 knowledge points. 10 times 5 is 50, so you'll basically get a 50% refund whenever you use that item. So you spend 100 and you're going to get 50 metal back. Of course, you'll get a little bit more if you're a gatherer, and of course that refund goes less and less as the notes get more expensive. Up next, we have our repeatable sources. So these are the ones that you're going to want to keep track of because you can do these every single week. So if you're trying to not fall behind, definitely take note of these items. Up first, we have for gatherers out there, and we have our rare gathers. What these are items that you can just come across whenever you are gathering in the world, just using your profession, and you can only have a certain amount per week. I will have an example on screen, but for this max right here, you can only gather 6. Now, each of them will grant you 1 knowledge point, with the final 6th item granting you +3. So you get slightly a better reward with your final pickup, but these are pretty rare. And so in addition to these planned out rare gathers, which you can kind of track inside of your journal, there's also just random items that you can loot as well. For example, this elemental stone that I looted when mining, and this also grants +1. These cannot really be tracked, they're simply just random, however, they are very, very rare. Moving on to crafters, because you don't actually gather or anything like that, you do have rare drops. So whenever you're in the world, you're just killing things, whether this is for a world quest, you're completing normal quest, whatever is happening, you have a chance to loot an item, which will grant you 1+ skill. So, for example, I was killing some elementals, and one of them dropped a ribbon. This allowed me to earn, another point for tailoring, and also 5 artisan metals. Basically, this is the equivalent of the rare gathers of herbing and mining, but of course, for the crafters out there. Up next, we have our actual trackable items, and this is a weekly crafting order quest. Now, because this is dealing with the crafting order system, this is only for crafters, and once again, you have to have level 25 in your profession. At level 25, you can pick it up by the lady next to the Artisan's Consortium Quartermaster, right beneath the stairs of the area you place work orders, so it's very easy to see, and she will offer you a quest to complete 5 crafting orders. Upon completion, you will gain +3 points, and as well, 15 artisan metal. Now, I know a lot of people are probably struggling finding public work orders to complete, but the best thing about this is that you can have your alt send you orders and you can complete it that way. How I completed this was I just had my main character request all of my alts to craft them 5 different profession equipment. All of these are the green BOE equipment that I either just disenchanted or sold on the auction house once the crafting order was complete. Up next, following that same thing, you have another weekly profession quest. However, I like to call this the turn-in quest. Now, this is available to gatherers as well as crafters, so you guys can work together again, but this requires profession level 50, which is why I say, hey, it's very important to level. Now, if you are a gatherer, this will likely ask you to just collect a certain amount of ore, leather, or herbs. For example, it might ask you to turn in, let's say, 20 ceravite ore. Or if you are a crafter, it will likely ask you to turn in. For example, my tailorer was asked to craft a few reagent bags, while my enchanter was asked to turn in 2 enchanting rods. So it really just depends, but in general, it's very, very easy to complete. And very similar to all the others, each quest will grant you +3 knowledge, which is equal to 15 artisan metal. Up next, we have our Draconic Treatises. Now, these are actually crafted items that come from scribes, however, they are bind on pickup, so you will have to order them through the crafting order system. Now, you should buy these once per week, as they will grant you 1 knowledge point and 5 artisan metal. Now, of course, you have to spend artisan metal to craft these, so the metal gain is not very nice. However, you will gain a knowledge point, which is very valuable. And the newest addition to this list is the Darkmoon Faire. Now, this is super exciting because the Darkmoon Faire has always been very nice for professions, so it's great that they're continuing that tradition. So now if you go into the Darkmoon Faire, of course this is only available once per month, you will be able to complete a profession quest and you will gain +2 skill, +3 knowledge points, and +15 artisan metal. So this is awesome, if you are somebody who is close to maxing out your profession, but it's very expensive, you gain skill points, you also gain knowledge points and metal. So definitely before the end of this week, if you're watching this when this video comes out, definitely get over to the Darkmoon Faire before it's too late. Then lastly, our final repeatable source is the Dragon Shards of Knowledge. Now these are items that you can turn in, however, you have to unlock them through a questline. You can start this questline in the Ruby Life pools, and once completed, you will have the ability to turn in these shards. Now, unlike all of the other sources, you have to decide what to spend the shard on. Each shard will grant you 1 knowledge point, however, it will grant you 50 artisan metal, which is super, super valuable. So, for example, if I had 2 dragon shards and I am an enchanter and tailorer, I will have to decide, okay, do I want 2 points into enchanting, do I want 2 points into tailoring, or do I want 1 of each? You are in control of that, unlike all the other sources. Now, after you have this quest line completed, which you can easily skip on your alts as well, you just have to take them to the Ruby Life pools, but once you have this skipped, you will gain a random amount of dragon shards by just completing content. Some people have been able to get them from the weekly chest by completing the weekly meta quest. Some people have gotten them from like rare treasures. People have gotten them from random world quest rewards, stuff like that. So it's a little bit harder to track. However, as long as you do content, you'll be fine. And alright, that is our big confirmed list that we have of all of the knowledge points currently available. However, there is one more section we need to talk about. Currently, there is a few ways to gain knowledge points that we aren't sure is a one-time thing or weekly. For example, if you guys are familiar with the questline for the Artisans Consortium, which we have kind of been talking about today, there are some one-time quests or potentially weekly quests. Once you hit level 25 in your profession, you can pick up a collection quest. This quest will ask you to go to a random area, kill some mobs, gather some resources, and turn them back in. This will grant you +3 knowledge points and also reputation, which is super important for this faction. Now, because we just have not seen this before, we don't know if this is a part of, the one-time questline of the Artisans Consortium, or this will be a weekly quest. So these are kind of the unknowns that we're not sure about. So potentially this could be an additional weekly quest that you can complete, just I don't want to say that for sure yet. So I just want to put it out there that there can be other sources, so if you guys find them or figure stuff out, feel free to leave a comment down below. But everybody, thank you so much. I hope this was helpful to all the people out there trying to gather as many points as possible. You got this, and I hope you're enjoying Dragonflight. As always, this is only week 2, so make sure you guys are enjoying it, and of course, don't feel bad if you're still a little bit confused or not sure what to do. Thursday's video will likely be a market video, which will be very exciting for a lot of people, so look forward to that. But everybody, thank you so much for watching, and have a good day.